I felt like talking, so I'll just start with a title, I guess, is my starting point. But I thought lockdown in God's holy temple. Thought that might be a way to start it. You see what I did with the words, with the first letter of each. Aren't I clever? I made light, L-I-G-H-T, lockdown in God's holy temple. That came to mind, and I figured, well, I guess I could just start there. You see how the light is being blocked. The spray is so thick it's actually down. Maybe not visible on the screen, but it's the particulate makes the air I'm looking through hazy. I can see visibly. It's not to the extent of fog, but it is a visible haze that limits the distance of perception. I mean, of course, not this far. I can see what's all in front of me, the trees, the forest, the trees, the individual trees, the pine needles on the trees, the leaves on the trees that had leaves that now are turning to buds, which started to bud, of course, last winter when the leaves fell unnaturally. Once again, as the seasons changed unnaturally, you can see the pine cones as well in the forest. That means this tree is a female. And then, of course, there are ones that do not, that are male, because there is actually just gender male and female in this world. That's how it works. I didn't make it like that. God did. And you see, it's still this kind of stuff. It's not nature that is the creation of man. The chemically iced nucleated snow that doesn't like to melt, that likes to, well, it's so dangerous in the winter times now, causing so many accidents. That's so slick, that's filled with, whatever. Folks have talked about that enough, so have I. And it still continues to get worse. So here we are. What do I mean? Lockdown in God's holy temple. Well, I'm talking about the temple between your temples, your mind, your brain, your head, under the dome of your skull. Because shouldn't we all be trying to get freedom right now under the dome of creation? That thought, it just has to become clear and more concise and deeper inside to know what freedom really means. Because what has happened right now, folks are locked down. Why? Because a man or a woman said so. A man or woman that doesn't even know, likely, that they're a man or a woman and deeply comprehend what that means. Comprehend that means that they're not an animal, that they are, in fact, a creation of God on a higher order than animals. That's very obvious in nature and in one's own nature. If one goes deep inside to figure out that nature is nurture, nurture is nature, there is no separation. Though with all the different duality tricks and language, sorcery spells, and misinterpretation of words, because incorrect definitions are used to make incorrect pictures in the mind of what a word means and what you might mean, maybe. Creates a false inverted perception that's divided constantly in many ways. And it need not be so. So that lockdown, the lockdown that's physically occurring and taking place and spreading like a virus, the virus of fear, the virus of mind control, is simply because the temple between the temples of far too many are still in lockdown, and that one could consider God's holy temple, or maybe highest temple, or the highest temple that one could achieve within their body, at the top of their spine, at the top of their dome, the place where they could actually consider and contemplate and comprehend what it might mean to be a creation of God in creation. Because during that process, during that unlocking, That's when the feeling can be felt in the heart of what that really means and what that means to you and your life and your whole experience and everything you've thought, done, said, and acted upon for your own reasons or someone else's. And then at some point, deep inside, it clicks or manifests or grows or something. That light will truly come to light and to life within one's heart and mind and come into balance and equilibrium. Instead, men and women are being told not to go outside because whoever, with whatever name, label, title, or costume said so. Because their governors say so. Govern means to steer or to control. So one that controls you on one level might call themselves an officer of governor. It's just an office, it's a dead fictional entity. In the name of that man or woman that tells you something based on their name, that's also a dead fictional corporate entity. It's not real. Though they are very really standing there with their own breath telling you these things. These things are not true. They're not truth. Because truth doesn't work like that. You can feel that in the heart and know that in the mind and perceive right through all the spells of these sorcerers, whether they be knowingly or unknowingly controlling others. They're doing it for others' purposes that they may not fully understand or comprehend. They might think they're doing things totally because they thought it was right. That's how things work. It's how things go. For all their own purposes. Never knowing they've been steered the whole time to get to that place and do the things they're doing. And now they're stuck. Well, they don't have to be stuck. No one does within this system. Within this system, within this corporation, it's all the same thing. Doesn't matter what label you put on it. It's a bunch of dead fictional entities playing roles in games that someone else set up for them. Simply because they weren't taught who, what, why they are. They were taught almost nothing, I would guess. I'm only going off my own experience in such a case because I was taught almost nothing about who, what, why I was. It turns out I just didn't realize it for so long because everything seemed normal. Everything only seemed normal because I was so poisoned and stuck in bad, destructive patterns of behavior from everything I ate and drank in an automatic way, not even really thinking about it, just consuming. Not based off need, but want. And want of what? Well, it turns out to feed the addiction of the chemicals or whatever I was consuming that was harmful. I just didn't fully comprehend how deeply harmful these things were until I did. Everyone can do that whenever they so choose. Everyone can unlock that light within. It's up to you. It's up to you, whoever you are. It's up to all of you. I can do nothing. I cannot fix this. I could only fix myself as best as I could, and I'm still working on it. I can't do it for anyone else. Each has to do it for themselves, but that's the gift we're each given. We're given the gift of that higher order of contemplation, of logic and creativity and reasoning. And then the feeling, the conscience, that can line those images and thoughts up and align them. Not in a way of crazy, overflowing emotion, but in a way to see and observe beauty and see the severity of ugliness and comprehend it. It's that simple. Each has to do it for themselves. Otherwise, They will continuously only be controlled by others' thoughts, by others' beliefs that they will have taken on to themselves, and it becomes their belief, only based off of the authority, the false authority of the one that told them this thing. That's not true, but everything that is. I found out in my mind, it was most things I thought and perceived, I came to realize were because others had molded my perception. It's through all of the things that have been mentioned over and over and over. The music, the video games, the television programs, the programming, the movies, the symbols that are all throughout, inverted and twisted ways. Folks don't even realize they mean anything because they don't mean anything to themselves. They think they're only a pile of labels that is to be used by the system in some way because it's the role they picked or were assigned or whatever. So, what I say isn't against anyone in any specific costume or label or office or position of whatever. That's the thing, I'm not your enemy. I'm not any of your enemies. You folk are your enemies. You are your own enemies, and you are serving the enemies overall, in an overarching way. You're serving the enemies of man and womankind. The enemies of man and womankind are the ones, whoever they might be, that want to control man and womankind on a massive scale by keeping them poisoned and suppressed and not knowing who, what, why they are. The ones that want to keep mankind in a state of addiction, in a state of control, in a state of actually thinking that they're an animal, no better than other animals. I fell deeply into that trap, deeply. And it is so, every trap that everyone has fallen, no matter what labels assigned to yourself, because it's really no comparison. Each one has their own journey here, and each of our journeys are as light and as dark as each other's. Whether that be physically played out or contemplated within, that ability inside and capability of what a man and woman is and can do and can comprehend and is capable of, it needs to be explored and realized inside in a way to where it does not play out in a harmful physical way. And I didn't know to do that. I didn't know to do that for far too long. That's the only reason I say anything, is to try and help others to stop what's happening. Yet things just keep getting worse, it looks like. Though they don't have to. And then I don't know that, I just don't. I don't know. All I can do is say these things I try to say. Ultimately, it's up to everyone else to find the light within them. What I've said up until this point was the best way, or is the best I can give or offer on how I explored my inner depths, my psychology, how I dismantled and took apart my own psyche because it was already shattered. And I've tried to figure out, where did this darkness come from? Where did these ideas I had and things that played out in my mind, where did they originate from? And almost all of them, it was from some outside source, and then it just got stuck on like loops of repeat and playback every now and again, because I hadn't been able to awake, so to speak, or bring to a wakeful state my subconscious, because I was asleep. So while I would walk around day-to-day life, thinking I was living life in a conscious type way. Didn't realize my subconscious was running most of what I did because I was running off belief and toxicity and did not have control, full control of my own mind. Therefore, why would God want to have anything to do with the temple within the body of a man or a woman who can't even bother to contemplate or think about anything on a bigger scale than themselves? And that was me. And that left me in a dark place. And eventually those demons become devils. And eventually those devils will kill you from the inside. Those devils of contradiction. Because that's the best way to look at things I found was, someone needs a law so bad. Why not non-contradiction? Or not contradiction? Or not saying something together in a contradictory way that contradicts itself, right? Non-contradiction simply means what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. That there is truth, that truth is not relative, though opinions are very relative and can vary widely. Facts are facts. Lots of things are presented as facts that are actually lies, but presented to look like facts. And that's where belief comes in. That's been the problem the whole time, I guess, because we all just want to trust each other. We want to trust the ones that are there supposedly to care for us and protect us. So, you don't realize that you can't get the bigger picture of what's going on, who's doing what, and why they're doing it, and who they're doing it for. You don't really realize they're not protecting and caring for you. They're simply controlling, guiding, and steering you. So, I thought not to put up any more videos. Because in my last one, I didn't think I could put any better what I had been trying to say all along. Well, simply, well, it was a bit of a lot of what I've been trying to say all along. I ended up doing this recording anyway today. I don't know how much more I can say because it's, like I said, it's not up to me. It's not up to me. I don't talk on here for attention. I really want nothing to do anymore with society, like I've stated before in previous videos, for not while it stands the way it stands. And it could change almost overnight if folks could just realize it. Just realize what's happened this whole time. Oh. So, let me say something. I've mentioned, a lot of folks get tied up on this name or that, but Jesus or Jesus Christ. I've talked a lot about this kind of stuff and what it meant to me, what I found inside. I've explained a lot. But to someone that hasn't heard it, well, you can try and seek that out if you want one of them videos. I wouldn't even bother, because look inside for the answers yourself in you, because that's where the journey begins and ends. It's where you have to seek. It's where you have to find. It's where you have to feel. It's in you. It's not in me. It's not in anyone else out there. And that's why I don't want to talk incessantly on these things, or on this thing, or to make videos constantly, because I've already said what I could say to try and help others find their own way, to try and leave a map of my own of what I found inside, like I said quite some time ago. So, yeah, I guess I just won't. I felt like there is something else I wanted to say about. in that book, the book of Adam and Eve, what I got from there's so much in there about how to avoid deception, right? Good examples of it. Of course, I didn't listen to any of this stuff or read any of this stuff or look into any of this stuff until well after I'd realized my mistakes deeply and had already come to, oh, well, go through quite a bit of my inner journey, so to speak. But in that book, it's pretty interesting how often or how many times Adam and Eve die and they get brought back over and over because they keep falling for deceptions. And there's real good lessons in there on the nature of the snake or the snake energy that's within folk that drive them. Let's say dark snake energy that drives addiction. It's the energy that I was controlled by, of toxicity and darkness that grows. So there's lessons in that. Further lessons in that is that Adam and Eve want so badly to get back to the garden, to get back to their immortal form where they did not have to consume food or feel the cold or feel the heat or pain or any of this other stuff. Yet, they didn't know how to do it. They kept praying, they kept doing this and that, kept begging for forgiveness, and God would tell them, you have to go through this, because if I bring you back, it would make my word a lie. Though there's something more. You have to go through this for the appointed time that I decreed, so to speak, of punishment or correction. Correction time might be a better way to put it for this story. So so begging to get back and then being told, no, you have to continue to go through this over and over and over. You keep making mistakes, keep dying, you're going to keep going through it. But the point was, you can't come back until after something happens. And at some point, I will be here. I will walk this place in the form you're in, and I will die, and this and that was God's message to them while they begged and pleaded to be let back into the garden. It was to say, look, I will go through and experience all these same things, just so you know, since you want to whine and cry and beg incessantly about getting back to the garden, though you made mistakes. And no, it wasn't worded like that. It's just my own, how I'm putting it in. It's how I pictured the behavior of Adam, and it actually, in the words, it kind of describes it, yeah, as such. Almost a whining, like a child. And I remember that place of mental and spiritual childhood deep inside me. And I just wanted to get right out of this world with the quickness once it struck so deep in me how bad I had been fooled. That was just the beginning of my growth. Just the beginning. And that was just the beginning of finding the light that would get rid of that demonic snake energy inside me, to absolutely crush the head of that snake that had wrapped all the way up my spine and taken control of my mind, run by the sickness of my bowels and addictions, fed by the programming of the screen and those around me, maybe. Anyway, the lesson or the message that I got from there was not to play the blame game with the Most High. No matter how bad life is, or how bad life looks, or how bad your experience might be in the moment, or some other moment you've lived and it's past. If it's past, it's trauma. Trauma that can be learned from and dispelled because it is the past. And it's not happening now. Though if bad things aren't happening now or coming in the future, it's to remember. And this is a lesson I had to take to heart and to mind, because I had to remember how many times I would blame anything around me, to include God or the Most High, that I didn't even think was real or true, because I thought everything was some weird accident. I had a very illusory view of myself in reality. It's the simplest way I can put it, and deepest. But the lesson I got from there, that was passed to Adam and Eve, so to speak, was, look, this is just how it is. This is how it has to go for the period of time that you're here, that I have put you here for. And the point is not to blame the Most High, because the creator of all of this well, the message was, look, I'm going to go through it. Don't worry about it. It will be okay. After that, it will be infinitely okay. Maybe if you can learn the lessons you're supposed to learn. And maybe once those lessons are learned, maybe that is when some appointed time will occur, when enough learn those lessons inside them and stop with the blame game of each other and God, and find out what the Most High is and means, and what this place is, and that they are indeed in creation. It's not an accident. Though they might be, whoever it is that's contemplating these things, thinking that they were just an accident that was created by parents. A man and a woman who was maybe disconnected, didn't want them, didn't know themselves, though they ended up in this world. The Most High put you in this world. Your mother and father provided the genetic material needed for the Most High to put the spark into you. And the Most High is the one that made that happen. You are here for a purpose, whoever you are. Is your purpose light, or is it darkness? Do you think your purpose is light, or and are you acting in darkness instead without realizing? I feel that's what I could say about my experience now, looking back. I try to what I tried doesn't matter now. What I've tried since is really all that matters to me, because it's up to each of us to fix this all together. You can only do that by fixing ourselves first, by accepting the lies, by accepting that we've been lied to, and recognize what you've been lied to about, then accepting, well, yeah, I was fooled, I was tricked. That's what I thought for myself, was I was fooled so badly I definitely walked the path of the fool. And I was a fool, because I was fooled deeply. But it doesn't have to last. And though it hurts at first to realize and recognize that one's whole life maybe was a lie, and everything around them and what they've been taught and what others think and what others believe and what they think about themselves are incorrect in our lives. Yet they continue to believe these things and continue to act on and play out things simply because they don't know better. Well, that's up to each. Each can know better. Please make the decision to. Please decide to now while there's a chance. And during this so-called ridiculous, won't get it. And during this lockdown, just take the time to unlock that temple with the light of the Most High, however you can contemplate it, until you can feel until you can feel what that might mean in your heart. And then to realize you are not the Most High, neither am I. Yet we can all simply stand equally, levelly and equally on the level ground that we all stand upon. Thank you for listening.